Alrighty guys, in this video I have something really special for you guys. So I'm going to just reveal to you guys our entire module on determining a niche in our online course and coaching program. It's insane. People pay us money for this, but I'm going to just give it to you guys for free just so you can see how much value we can provide for you. We literally walk you through everything on why you should choose a niche, how to choose niches that make over 10K per month so you can scale your own agency as well. So I'm super excited. So let me just get straight into it. Let's move to the course module. Hey everyone, it's Zachary Elaborate here, and in this video we're going to talk about determining a niche. Now, if you don't pick a specific niche in your business, you're basically going to fail from the start, right? Determining a niche is the one thing that's going to separate you from the competition and change the trajectory of your business. So let's talk about exactly how to determine a niche and what criteria you need to make sure you do it the right way. All right, so determining a niche. So the most important thing with starting SMMA is choosing the correct niche, right? Warren Buffett has a famous quote that says, "It's not about how hard you row, it's about what boat you're in." And that couldn't be more true. You can have the greatest SMMA in the world, but if you're in a niche that has no money or no need for your services, then you're just wasting your time, right? And that's just in business. You can have the greatest business in the world, but if your business focuses on the newspaper industry, you're probably going to lose because nobody reads newspapers anymore. So what you choose is almost as important as how you actually provide the service. Now let's ask, why should you choose a niche in the first place? Now there are 3 reasons that I put here. The first reason is that it helps you scale your business faster. The second reason is it increases profitability. And the third reason is that it helps you with your client results. And I'm going to show you and break down every single reason here step by step. So 1, it helps you scale your business faster, of course. So when you're running your business, you must realize that the more complexity you add, the harder it is to run the business. If there's one thing I want you guys to realize is simplicity scales. Now, it sounds like it makes sense, but so many people run businesses that are so complicated, they explode the second something goes wrong. A lot of people see Shark Tank and business online like Apple and big fortune tech CEO companies. And these companies are very, very complicated. So because of this, you think you need to run your business like that. And that is a recipe for disaster. You must make it very simple. And like we spoke about before, having the right volume in your business is what will help you make more money and help more potential clients. Remember the word volume. If you don't know what that means, go back to the mindset module and it explains all these terms that I'm going to actually talk about and reference in this specific video. So let's say you run a marketing agency, but you just help anyone getting customers, right? You don't have a niche. You work with anyone who's going to give you money, right? Now, you may think that you can get more clients because you're in a broad market and that will help you make more money, but it will stunt your growth because then you need to deliver your results for completely different clients, which can ruin your business. So it sounds good in the beginning, but once you actually start to have these clients and bring them results, which is the most important thing, that's when things start to fall apart and things get more complicated. So we want to make sure that we can get the best results possible, and having different people in different niches over different times is not a good idea to make things simple. Getting results for a roofer is completely different than getting results for a chiropractor because these businesses have different messaging, different pricing, and of course, different sales processes. So to get them all results, you're most likely going to have to make multiple ad creatives, multiple offers and messaging, and multiple funnels and landing pages. It just gets super complicated because you're going to have to make one for every single client. It's a completely different system. So I made a little document here to show you exactly what it looks like for having one niche to multiple niches. So you can see here one niche. Let's say you work with only roofers. You have one niche and you work with one offer, because specifically if you work with roofers, there's one offer that works well for them. And then they go down the funnel, right? You make the one funnel for them and they turn to one closed deal. And it's so simple because you have to make one offer, one funnel, one closed deal. Now, if you increase niches and you have 2 different niches, now you have 2 things you have to make. 2 different offers, 2 different funnels, 2 different deals you have to close, right? And you can see at the bottom here, this is 3 steps and this is 6 steps. So everything is exponentially worse. You exponentially increase the work you have to do, which slows down your results and makes it a lot harder to get consistent results because you're always going to want to make tweaks and changes to the offer, the funnel, and the deal. So it just becomes a huge headache. Now, let's say if you add 3 niches, it gets even worse. You have an offer for one client, an offer for a second client, offer for a third client, different funnels, different deals, and now you have to do 9 different steps, which is 3 to the power of 3. So it consistently gets worse and worse and worse. So every time you add something new to your business, things get exponentially more complicated and worse to deal with. And if you want to build a long, sustainable, lasting business, here's exactly what you need. You need one niche, one funnel, one product. That is it. You can make millions of dollars selling one thing to a specific audience. If you look at the biggest players in the online space, look at Alex Becker, Alex Hermosi, Charlie Morgan, people like this, they have one offer, one funnel that's their flagship system, and they just focus on selling that over and over again. So I always say find one offer, one deal, one niche, one thing, and one specific client avatar that you can help, and that'll make your life so much easier. Now, the second one is it increases profitability. Now, the number one thing in your business that will keep you alive is cash flow, or money, of course, right? Of course, we want to help people, but at the end of the day, if we're not making money, the business will die. And the best way to make more cash is to charge more money. I mean, duh, right? But a lot of people don't charge enough. So many people are afraid of charging more, and they don't know how they can justify charging more. So one way you can actually charge more and justify it is by niching down to one specific audience. This is because when you only work with one audience, you're seen as the expert, and if people think you're an expert, you can charge expert prices. Now, if you're in a situation where you want a product and that product speaks directly to you and your pain points, it's definitely going to sell a lot more than just a generic product that works with everybody. Now, let's use an analogy to understand this better. Let's say you want a burger, right? And you're really in the mood for the best burger you can get right now, the best burger on planet Earth. You want that thing to be juicy, tender, made from people who are the best at it, right? Now, where would you rather go? Your local grocery store or Five Guys? You'd probably choose Five Guys, right? Because they specialize in burgers. Even though their burgers are extremely expensive, they're like $20 for a burger and like $15 for fries. It's like $35 to eat there, which is crazy. But you'll pay that price because you know that you're going to have a really good burger. I know that the local grocery store makes a good one, but I want a great burger. And the people who make great things are the ones that niche down and focus on one specific business offer. And Five Guys is a multi-million-dollar corporation, so we know they're doing something right? And that's not just with food, that's with clothes, cars, and yes, even marketing agency packages. When people see that you're niche down and you only focus on them and you speak their language, exactly what they want, they're willing to pay more. You could 5-10x your price just because you only work with that specific market. Now, the next reason is it helps you get your clients results. Now, when you focus on one thing for a long time, it's almost impossible to not be an expert at it. Whether it's sports, business, dating, or whatever the case may be, being able to focus on one niche will make you an expert that will exponentially increase your results. I don't care what you do, if it's languages, piano, literally the greatest people on planet Earth just focus on one thing and did the best. Look at Kobe, look at Steve Jobs, look at LeBron, look at all these people. They focused on one thing and made sure they were the best at it. And above all else, the number one thing that will keep your business growing is client results. So when you focus on one niche, you'll start to understand the type of customer that your client has, the marketing angles that work the best for them, and the systems that give them the best results. You will also be able to completely copy and paste the system that got you results for one client and just plug it into a system for your new client. So once you crack the code once for one client, you don't need to do it again, right? If they're in the same niche. So for example, if you work with a roofer and you find an offer that works, just do the same offer for the other roofer. That's literally it. Just keep doing it, bro. Just keep doing the same offer because if it worked for them, it'll work for the other person in the same niche. So let's look at a diagram I made to illustrate this, right? So if you scroll down here, these two diagrams basically represent focusing on a niche and business growth. So in the middle, the circle represents one niche, and here the circle represents multiple niches. And these arrows represent business growth, right? So let's say, for example, this one niche is roofing. I love roofing. So you can see here in this one niche, you can see the business growth is exponentially higher because we're focusing on one niche. So we know exactly what their issues are. We can talk to their language and focus and fix and work with them specifically. Once you have multiple niches, you can see that every single niche takes a piece of your focus out. And the most powerful thing you could have as a business owner is focus. If you can't focus, you will fail. Alex Hermosi says that distraction kills more businesses than lack of competence. So I don't care how good you are at business. If you're focusing on different things, you will never succeed. You will never, ever, ever succeed. So having these multiple niches are going to spread you thin and completely destroy your growth. So I will say you'll have make 4 times the amount of business growth if you just do one niche, guys. If you get anything from this video, just focus on one niche. Keep your focus on one, the North Star, which is the niche that you choose, right? I'm just saying this because I made that mistake before, and every time you switch a niche, you're shooting yourself in the foot, right? I'm telling you. So you can see that business growth is exponentially faster when you focus on one niche, one problem, and one solution at the same time. All right, so now that we figured out exactly why we should actually choose a niche, let's talk about narrowing down the niche. So now you can actually pick a niche that you can start working with. So I'm sure you have some niches in mind already, and at this stage, I want you to have a rough idea of who to work with. I want you to narrow it down to about 3 to 5 different niches that you can see yourself working with. Later in this video, we'll walk through validating these niches, but for now, it's important to have a rough idea. Here are some advantages that you may consider when choosing a rough niche to start with. If you have family or friends in that niche, that's perfect because you can just talk to them, understand what they do, and even work with them if they want to give you a shot. You can also see if you have worked in the niche in the past. So if you've worked as a car detailer in the past, you have a lot more advantages than someone just getting into the business because you understand how it works, exactly how it works, right? Now, if you live in an area that has a specific niche that's very popular, so for example, North Carolina is very, very big on home improvement, HVAC, and roofing. There's a lot of roofers there. So if there's a lot of people in that space who do that specific business, then it's perfect for you. We also highly recommend that you work with local businesses that are brick and mortar stores. They're much easier to market for and work with. Online businesses are much harder and require a lot more experience. Now, they can be done, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot easier to work with local businesses because they don't know how to market. They usually have no idea what they're doing. And you can just basically click a few buttons, set up the system once, and have it run for them, and they'll keep paying you forever. Now, here's a list of some niches to give you some ideas. So we have real estate agents here, plastic surgeons, roofing, HVAC, car dealerships, med spas, legal services, electricians, solar panels, pool builders, chiropractors. Now, chiropractors, I've worked with chiropractors in the past, and you must make sure that chiropractors have a high ticket program to sell. So you want to make sure chiropractors have a high ticket system of about maybe around $1,000 in the package at least, because chiropractors usually charge low ticket, and it's very hard to get them a lot of results if it's low ticket. You also work with accountants, dentists, IV therapy clinics. Now, these are just ideas. Of course, there's tons of other ones, but these are just some ideas. So now that you've picked your 3 to 5 niches here, list them below and give a quick sentence on as to why you picked them. So here is the action portion of the system. So I want you guys to write down the niche idea, at least 3, right? I want you to write the niche idea here, and I also want you to write why you chose the niche down here. So make sure you actually do this physically so you have this for reference. Now, once you've done that, there are 3 things your niche needs in order for you to qualify if it's viable. And they are if the market validates the niche, right? If the market has the means to pay for high ticket prices, and if the market is evergreen. If you don't have any of these, it's a big problem. I suggest you really need all 3 of these, honestly. Make sure you have all 3 of these. If you have just one of these, then it will never work. These are non-negotiables. So we'll walk through what all this means step by step. So the first one is the market validates a niche. So a lot of people in business like to overthink picking a niche, and it's probably because they've seen a bunch of crazy $1 million businesses online, right? Everyone's seeing Shark Tank, and they see people like Grant Cardone and Gary Vee, and they make people often think that you must create the next Facebook or Uber to make any money in business, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I need to do all these things here. I need to become the greatest. You really don't. That's a huge lie, and it keeps people broke forever. When starting anything in business, you cannot try to reinvent the wheel. You must choose a niche where people are already running successful marketing agencies and just do what they do. Literally just go into the market and get your piece of the pie. That is how you start off a successful business. And there are tons of entrepreneurs making millions of dollars doing boring businesses. So Pablo Picasso, the millionaire famous artist, says, good artists copy, but great artists steal. And that's super important, right? You don't want to reinvent the wheel here. A lot of people think that a business is an idea. No one cares, right? A business is not an idea. A business is something that solves a problem. And if you can see in the marketplace that a niche has a problem, it doesn't matter. If you can fix it, they'll pay you. That's literally how it works. Now, guys, please don't steal, right? That's not the point of this message. It's really not. I'm just saying that I want you to understand that going into a market that already is successful is the number one thing you must do. Some of the most successful businesses in the world have not started something completely new. They've just taken something that already exists and just put their own spin on it, right? You want to make sure you put your own spin on it, make it unique, but still fit the marketplace. So to choose the correct niche, you must first validate if there are people in your specific niche actually making money with it. And the best way to do that is to do some competitor research. So here are some questions you can research on Google to figure out if your niche is viable. So this is another action portion. The market validates a niche. So these are the questions you need to research and ask to make sure that your niche is viable and ready to go. So make sure to ask all these questions and go through the system before hitting the next section. So here's a really cool hack that I like to do to spy on your marketing agency competitors. So step one is to make a completely fresh Instagram and Facebook account, right? Step two is to Google marketing agencies specifically for your niche. So if you're looking for roofing marketing agencies, just go on Google and type in roofing marketing agencies. That's literally it, right? Go to their website and interact with their page, click on their buttons, just go through their pages and find them on Facebook and Instagram and follow them. Now, I want you to watch all of their content on Instagram and keep repeating steps 4 and 5 for different marketing agencies in your space. So over time, you'll start to get recommended a bunch of marketing agencies in your field because the Instagram and Facebook algorithm can see you're interested in that content. Now you can see what your competitors are doing, you can spy on their ad tactics, their content, and you can see how you should structure your own agency. And you could also see how much money they're making, right? You can basically look at their videos and look at their content to see how much money they could potentially be making. Now, if you're having a lot of trouble finding competitors in your space on Google or Instagram, that may be a red flag. We want to see at least 2 examples of marketing agency competitors in your industry. If you're having trouble finding them on Google, Instagram, this may not be the best niche for you. Now, it's not always the case, but we'll talk more about that in the future, getting your niche approved so that it actually goes through and you can start something that works. Okay, so once we validated that our niche has competitors that are doing well, now it's time to dive into deeper questions about if our niche has the means to buy our services. All right, so let's talk about the market having the means to pay high ticket prices. So now that we have a rough idea of what our niche should be, and we kind of know that there are competitors in the niche that are doing well, it's time to validate if our niche can afford us, right? And if they would be willing to pay for marketing in general in the first place. Now, there are plenty of niches that sound great on paper. However, realistically, they wouldn't pay for our services and they just rather do it themselves. Also, we want to make sure that the type of service delivery we provide them will get the exact results that they're looking for. So first, here are some questions we can research to make sure we know how to best serve our niche. So this is another action portion. So just go through these questions, Google them, research them online, and figure out exactly how these clients or these potential clients run their businesses. Fill everything out here and then skip to the next section. So now the market is evergreen, right? This is very important. So evergreen means that throughout the year and over time, the market will be stable and continue to generate income. So a seasonal business, like a business that only comes out a certain time of year, is not evergreen at all. So I don't know if you guys know the company Spirit Halloween. They're a company that just comes out every year during Halloween, and they just have a bunch of pop-up shops, and they just sell costumes and Halloween stuff. Now, they only are out for 1/4 of the year. And that is not good, right? You don't want to have a business that's seasonal because if that happens, it'll be very hard to get consistent income and grow your business effectively. So make sure your business is year-round running. And we also don't want to build businesses on a system that's very shaky and unreliable. Also, evergreen means that this certain business model and industry has no signs of ever dying. So an industry like the newspaper is a horrible industry to get into because internet and the TV completely made it obsolete. So if you want a business that lasts a long time, you must be in an industry that will last for a long time. Let's look at a concept called the Lindy effect. So the Lindy effect is a concept that if something has existed for a long period of time, it will have a higher chance to continue to exist in the future. So with that logic, a business that has already been here for 500 years will most likely exist for another 500 years because it's already been here for so long. Now, of course, there are outliers with technology and AI, but overall, you want to make sure that this business will last a long time. So this is why I recommend when choosing a niche to work and only focus on niches that are based on needs, not wants. Because throughout time, if there's a recession or some issue in society, you want to be in an industry that people can't avoid, right? So I don't really suggest luxury industries because those industries are very volatile and those industries are really only there when times are good. But when times are hard, it's still difficult to get business and to grow that business in a specific climate. This is why I'm not really a fan of med spas or plastic surgeon clients because those really are luxury clients. Now, no matter what happens, you're probably going to need a place to live. So, home services, as an example, is always a great option. So, here are some questions you can research to see if your niche is here to stay. So, here's another action portion. So, just go through all the questions, make sure you answer them very well, and then skip to the next section. Perfect. So, in conclusion, let's put this all together. So, with all this put together, you should have now a great understanding of your niche. But there's just one thing you need to understand about your niche, and that is their biggest struggle in their business. Remember, as an entrepreneur, you're solving problems. So if you can solve their specific problems with your system, your business, your offer, that's what's going to keep you in business forever. So you must completely understand the issues in their business and why these companies have trouble growing. Because that's your one job. You're a marketing agency. Your one job is to get people more clients. That is literally all you do. So you also need to understand what type of person your ideal client is. So are they extroverted? Are they introverted? Are they okay with risk, or are they risk averse? And there's different people in different niches, but there's always a trend in certain niches. So for example, real estate agents are usually more extroverted because they have to go out there and sell a house. You can't be inside scared and not talk to people if you want to sell a house, right? You have to be open and talk to a lot of people. So it just depends on your niche sometimes. Now figure out exactly who they are so you can serve them in the correct way. We like to call this the client avatar. So let's fill out the client avatar sheet and then we'll figure out if this niche is a niche that you can move forward with. So this section is the conclusion, it's the action section. So answer all these questions to understand who your client is, and then let's move on to the next section. Perfect. So now that you complete the entire document, it's time to get your niche approved. Now, if you don't get your niche approved by us before continuing, then we can't be responsible for your success in growing your business and getting clients, right? You have to make sure that this niche is correct, and you want to make sure that without a shadow of a doubt that this niche is going to work. So to put your niche for review, make a copy of this document, post it in the actual niche approval section of the school group, and write out exactly why you chose it and what your niche is. The admins and the team will look over the document and give you feedback within 24 to 48 hours. So let me show you what it looks like in the school group. So if I go back to the school group and I go to community, there are a bunch of tabs here. What you want to do is you want to create a post, and in that post, you want to choose the category. Make sure it's a niche approval category. Then just type in, let's just say niche approval. You type in the name of the niche, why you chose this niche, and then you're also going to want to add an attachment of the file that you downloaded. So you can make a copy of this file. If I go back here and scroll all the way up, you can make a copy of this file by clicking here, and then that will open up in Google Docs. Make sure to upload this on this section here, and then you're pretty much ready to go from there.